everyone. Welcome to yet another interesting episode of Life and Vibes of a Christian. Here we delve into very interesting topics in the Christendom. They may seem very little, but they are easily ignored. Here we bring you more light, shed more light on these topics. I never get to do this alone. I always have a smart, intelligent guest with me in the studio who digs deep into these matters and brings us more knowledge in this regard. Today we have a guest like that, but I'll let you know who he is when we return from the short break. I am Ethel D Voice, your host. Hey guys, welcome back. And yes, like I said, we have a very interesting guest in the studio, and that is the person of Midday Coca. Hi Midday, how are you?
Hello, Adele.
How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm fine.
Oh yeah.
I'm good.
I mean, from the way you already see, you can tell that you already can tell who he is. Now, Midday Coca here is a prolific comedian, someone who is also a Christian, a very devoted one at that. Yes, and that's why we have him here, because today we are talking about comedy from the Christian perspective. There's a lot of misconception when it comes to comedy, and I feel like comedy, yes, is an industry on its own, but yeah, it feels like there's no exact explanation. Is there like a gospel comedy industry, a secular comedy industry, just like we have music? You know, we have the gospel musicians, we have the secular musicians. Do we have anything like that in the comedy industry?
Well, in Nigeria, we tend to want to classify comedy. We tend to want to, but we only have comedy is comedy. A comedian is a comedian. So if it's only in Nigeria you see somebody calling himself or herself a gospel comedian, or a comedy is comedy. If you can make people laugh in the church, it means if that joke is funny enough to make them laugh outside the church. So a joke is a joke. A comedian is a comedian.
I like that. I mean, a comedian is a comedian, and that's your take on it.
It's not like a medical profession where you have a surgeon, you have a gynecologist, you have a dentist, you have if you are taking care of a particular problem, then we can now say, okay, maybe you are a spiritual comedian because you take care of spiritual problems. You make people with spiritual problems to laugh. But you make people laugh generally.
Okay, that's very funny, because how do you identify people with spiritual problems?
That's why I said it's not segmented. It's not like you are taking care of the ear. Any problem that doesn't have to do with the ear, you take it to another. Maybe it's the teeth. You take it to the dentist. So we don't have that in comedy.
So comedy is comedy. Comedians are comedians, regardless of your faith, your beliefs, and whatever you live by.
The same joke you crack for a Christian, you can travel out and then you see a Jew and you crack the same joke and makes him laugh.
Makes him laugh.
So does that make him less of a Christian comedian or a gospel comedian, so to say?
So you are a comedian, not a gospel or just secular. You are a comedian. This is beautiful. Now, how do you balance humor and maintaining respect for Christian values in your comedy? Let me explain this. For instance, you have comedians who crack joke as a mockery to the church or mockery to Christianity. We have that a lot. We see that a lot. For you, who you have a belief, your faith is established somewhere, and that's in Christianity. How do you balance this, humor and making jokes regarding your Christian values?
So in comedy, there's something called below the belt. Below the belt means there are some jokes there are some topics you can talk about any topic. But then for each topic, there's a length at which you can go, there's a length at which you can't go. Because you should be conscious of your environment, of your community.
Yeah.
Who are the kind of people listening to your jokes? Do you understand?
Yeah.
If you are trying to crack a church audience up, you can't talk about prostitutes. If you're going to talk about prostitutes, you talk it in a way where you are trying to bring them back to the fold.
Somehow it has to be unto edification.
Not like you're glorifying the
That's
act.
okay.
So there are things you don't talk about. So pertaining to Christianity, I think there are a lot of topics to talk about. There are a lot of ways where you can express yourself and not talk down on your religion or another person's religion, so to say. You understand? So when we say it's below the belt, it means you don't have to go there. You don't have to talk about it. You just keep it as clean as you can, and then no matter how you try as much as possible to still be clean, because comedy needs a subject matter. Comedy needs a subject. There's something that should be talked about. So in as much you try to keep it clean, some people will still feel offended. So it will do you a lot of good by minimizing the number of people that will get offended by whatever you're saying.
Somehow.
Yeah.
Somehow. So for you personally, Mijay Coker, how do you get your inspiration? Where do you get your inspiration from? Because you have people like musicians who say, oh, I was praying. For example, a gospel musician says, I was praying and the Spirit of God told me this. And that's how this song was born. That's how this thing happened. That's how, I had an experience. Some maybe had a near-death experience. And that's how a song was born. For you, how does your joke inspiration come from?
It comes from I observe a lot. I'm a very observant person. And I consume a lot of stand-up comedy content, not to
imitate them,
or pick what they've said, but then iron sharpeneth iron. So there's a way you might have an idea and you don't even know how to flesh it up. By the time you watch a couple of guys do their thing, you can get inspired by whatever they say or something. So
True.
I'm an observant person. I cannot bite my tongue. I'm an observant person. I try to to observe things happening around me. I talk a lot about myself too, about my family, my life, growing up. So all this comes together to form my materials.
Do you, in a way, have always considered the God factor in your jokes?
Consider the God factor.
The God factor. Point is, for example, if I want to do comedy now, or I want to sing, or I want to do fashion, somehow I could have, which is an example, right? I could have the God factor in front of me as far whatever I am doing, whatever joke I am saying, I want it to glorify God.
Okay.
So do you have that as a principle that you live by?
Okay, so like I said, if you're cracking a joke and God has to be in that joke for the joke to have a God factor.
Okay.
Because, for example, if I'm talking about Nigerian government, if I'm talking about Nigerian politicians, you cannot put them and God in the same sentence. Because God, they fear them.
No way. No, you didn't just say that.
Do you understand?
God is a respecter of no man.
So, you see what I was
saying?
That's
a joke.
Do you understand? So, the God factor in some materials might not. For example, if you're cracking a football joke, if the joke doesn't go in line with, maybe you are trying to link it with religion, or you just talk about football and its components, you might not necessarily talk about God
as it has to do with football.
Do you understand? So if I'm talking about church, if I'm talking about pastors, if I'm talking about church congregants, then we can now say, okay, this is where God comes in. We can glorify him, we can have his factor in this discussion.
So do you have an example? Can you share an example of a joke or routine that effectively conveys a Christian message while being funny? Do you have any? I mean, I know I've seen you a couple of times do comedy in church.
Yes.
Okay, so
a part of comedy is being spontaneous. So when things happen, I try to pick on them. To crack jokes. So not like I have a joke written down. So it's when, like I said, I'm observant. So when things happen, I pick on them. I pick and then form jokes out of them on the spot.
Okay.
And it still edifies the body of Christ. It doesn't talk down on the God factor, like you said.
That's beautiful. How do you navigate potentially sensitive topics in comedy while staying true to your Christian beliefs? There are really sensitive topics in Christianity. So how do you navigate it? Because in our days now, everybody wants to trend, and negativity sometimes gains more of the spotlight or the fame. So, but there are sensitive topics in the Christendom. How do you navigate that? Sensitive topics in the
You just avoid it. Simple as it is.
Mm.
Just don't talk about it. If you're going to talk about it in such a way that you're not joining the bandwagon.
Yeah.
You're trying to bring out your own perspective, your own opinion about the matter, which of course we want to believe is to not to talk down. That's especially when we know that that's the right thing to do, because it's not all things that comes out of the religion that is right. We know, right? So when you know this is the right thing to do, then just talk about it in such a way that people understands that yes, you are trying to buttress the point in respect of the right thing that should be done.
When you just said now that not everything that comes out of religion is right,
yes,
what do you mean? Explain, please.
There's a saying in Yoruba that says God created the world, the good, the bad. So for every good thing you see, there's always a bad side to it. For every good thing you see. But then the Bible says everything God created is good. Do you understand? But then we have a particular set of people that they've really tried to turn the word to use it in their own favor. So when you are trying to speak in respect to people like that, you find a way, you try to correct whatever wrong they are doing with the word, because a lot of people just quote Bible verses just to suit themselves, just to bamboozle people and bring them to their side.
Now, in what ways do you believe that comedy can be used as a tool of spreading positivity in our word and faith?
Okay, so the let me tell you how comedy started. Comedy started from slave trade. Yeah, the blacks were called upon to the white masters saw that a couple of these guys are funny, they can crack us up, and so that was how comedy started. And the blacks found a way to jokingly talk about the ill treatment they were getting from the slave masters. So because it's a joke, they laugh about it. But then it was used as a tool for correction to start with. So comedy there are a lot of things you say as a comedian and the authorities laugh about that an ordinary citizen will talk about and they pick him up instantly.
True.
But they say, he's a comedian. But one way or the other, that guy is passing his message. But they will think, it's just a joke. It's really not a joke. So when it comes to Christianity, we still try as much as possible to pass the message as a tool for correction. Like I said, we have a lot of people that are twisting the Bible verse. That are, for example, we have somebody selling the water from the Red Sea. We have somebody selling the clothes that Jesus wore on the cross of Calvary. That is it the loin cloth or what do they call it? So now when you see people like that, you know these people are not speaking from the altar of God. They are doing this to just get something in their pocket. So when a comedian comes up and talks about that, that's a tool already in correcting the ills in the society.
Very insightful. Very insightful. We'll take a short break right now. When we return, we'll see how Mide Kuka can make us laugh. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm sure you are hooked. This has been an amazing time with Mide Kuka, and I am still Estelle D Voice, your host. Mide Kuka, thank you so much for being very open with us in this, conversation.
Thank you for having me.
I'm excited. Always excited. Now, quick question. Yeah. How do you handle criticism? I mean, we have maybe sometimes you tell some Christian jokes. How do you handle criticism sometimes from the Christian folks? Right? When, for example, you're doing your thing. Like you said in the beginning, you said a comedian is a comedian, regardless of whatever platform that you want to
A comedian is a comedian.
A comedian.
A stand-up comedian is a
stand-up comedian. Anywhere, anytime. There's nothing like a gospel stand-up comedian or circular stand-up comedian. How do you handle criticism from your brothers and sisters in the faith? Maybe you told a joke that they term sensitive or not Christian-like. How do you handle that?
Okay, so if the critic or the criticism is constructive, you are criticizing me in a way you say that, oh, okay, I think you can do it this way. I think this is better. Why not try this way? But if you are criticizing me in a way to bring me down, I won't take that.
Okay.
If you are criticizing me to correct me, like you can do better, I know you, you shouldn't have said that. You could have said this instead of that.
Okay.
Then that's fine.
So this is something you encourage.
So if you want to grow, of course, you should welcome critics. If you want to grow, critics that are not trying to bring you down. Okay. They just want to see you better. They just want to, oh, what if you do it this way? I think that word you used, what if you use this word instead of that? Yeah, why not?
This is beautiful. I mean, have you ever had a situation where you see someone and is a comedian? You see comedians in the industry and you're wondering, are you really a Christian? How do you tell jokes like this? It's so dirty, it's so out of place, it's so not Christian-like. And then maybe you now come to see them personally at home and you see that these people, they have a very strong faith in the Lord, in the Word. They have a very personal relationship with the Father. They even drop us in their church. You know, have you ever been in that kind of situation? Or have people seen you like that and then get to see you in a different light?
Okay, so a joke is only out of place when you are telling it to the wrong audience.
Please say that again. That's beautiful.
A joke is only out of place when you are telling it or cracking it to the wrong audience. Or you are the wrong comedian for them. It's either a wrong comedian or a wrong audience.
Oh, wow.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Now, for example, if you're a pastor, maybe your friend or a church member is having a birthday bash, maybe at a club or at an hotel or outside the church. And for example, let's use the word club.
Okay.
And you are there. Of course, that it's a club doesn't necessarily mean it has to be crazy and wild.
Sure.
You can have your pastor friend, or it might not be a pastor, but a brother in the church. Oh, it's my birthday. I would like to have you. It's a nice environment, and then you go there, and then a comedian comes up and is cracking a joke about drinks, about, of course, they won't tell the comedian the set of people. They might not brief him. So he gets there and he's talking about how when you're done at this club, you carry woman, and then now the first thing you should do as a pastor is not get angry, because first of all, that's not a church. That joke there is not out of place. But now, if that same comedian now goes to church and cracks that same joke,
the comedian is wrong.
The comedian is out of place. The joke is out of place. The audience is in the right place. I don't know if you understand.
Yeah, so it's all about understanding your audience.
Your audience, who you are talking to.
Yeah.
So that should form the body of jokes, the materials
that you tell
cracking at that point in
time. That time. So as comedians, when you get an invitation to go somewhere, you want to have details of the kind of event and the kind of people who are coming. Let me give you
an example. Around 2015-16, I was supposed to have a gig. When I got there, the lady asked me, "Do you smoke?" I said, "No, I don't." She said, "So how do you want to convince your audience or your clients to take our product?" They said, "Can you," because the gig was supposed to be in maybe a week or so.
Okay.
They asked me, can you, for the purpose of this job, because it's a high paying gig, for the purpose of this gig, can you smoke? So inside of me, I was like, I go try to convince person may smoke. I will come smoke. They do. That's even worse.
That's even worse. Yeah.
Than you telling the interviewer or client that I don't smoke, but these are the benefits of this.
Yeah.
I don't really know how many benefits smoking has, but how many benefits I won't really tell her. I tell her, say your lung will be fresher, or your kidney will be smoother. You understand? So I didn't get the gig.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yes, that's because it's not something. It's not a sin to smoke. Smoking is not a sin. The abuse is a sin. Abuse of anything is
a sin. Yeah.
So, but I don't know how to. I don't smoke, so it's not like I'm condemning the act. But I don't do it.
So you didn't get the gig.
I didn't get the
not gig. Because of your Christian beliefs.
No.
But because it's not something you do.
It's not something
and you will not be able to convince anyone to do it.
Yes.
Especially when you don't do it.
Of course.
Amazing. This has really been insightful. When it comes to convincing people about what you do and what you don't do, how does comedy, for instance, like you just said something now when you mentioned that you didn't get the gig.
I didn't. Because
you couldn't convince them that you don't smoke. I mean, that you smoke.
Yeah, of course. It's not like I couldn't convince them. If you're saying I couldn't convince them, it means maybe I do it, but I don't know how to convince them.
Yeah.
I don't do it at all. I'm not sure I've ever smoked in my life. I'm not sure.
In Nigeria right now, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
People are tired. Yeah. People are weary. There's so much going on. How do you think comedians or comedy helps with the situation of the country?
It's clear, laughter is the best medicine.
I was gonna come to that, okay?
Yeah. Laughter is the best medicine. So you just know where to be. At this we are in critical times where a particular person is performing presently in the country. So you need that person is on the wrong side of it. So you need somebody that is on your right side, somebody that is on the same side with you, that is feeling the same thing you're feeling, but has decided to leave his or her own at home to come and help you out of your own body.
So laughter is very, very important.
Laughter is
I mean, when the scripture says laughter doeth good as medicine, it's true.
Even the Bible says he who sits in heaven
laughs. This has been such a time with Mide Coker. I mean, I love to call your name every time. How did that name come about?
Are you sure you want to know that?
Yes, I want to. Oh my goodness. Is this something wrong?
So, no, there's nothing wrong.
Okay,
so I used to only bear Mide.
Okay.
But then there's something in art. It has to be resounding. It has to have a callback. Needs to rebound. When you call the name, it's heavy. So Mide for me was just
there.
Yeah. Was not get
wait.
You understand?
Yeah.
So I just thought of it. I've never been a fan of English names.
Okay.
Yeah, I really don't like them. No, I don't hate them. But
it's not your thing.
It's not my thing.
Yeah.
You understand? But then I was just trying to give my name some weight, and I was with a couple of friends. I was having suggestions. Me did the Joker, me did this one, me did that one, me did I was staying at the Cotton at the time. I was coming to Ilupeju. I can't see one street
signpost.
I just see Coca. This name.
He enter.
So Mide Coca. So I called my guys and I suggested, okay, so I don't really have an English name. Coca is not an English name per se. It was a name given to some blacks during slave trade.
Okay.
Then if you hear the Coca family, anywhere you hear Coca family, they have their roots from the Cocas, the Williams, all those kind of names. So the Ferguson, Fernandez, anybody here the bear Ferguson, Fernandez for Lagos, you know where they are from.
As per surname, not
As per
like
surname,
the baby's
yeah,
ones.
as per surname.
Yeah.
So when I saw that and I juxtaposed it, the thing entered. So that was it.
Mide Coca.
So
Popularly
when I
known
meet
as
popular
Coca
Coca and La.
La.
So when I meet the original Cocas or the
Yeah.
you know, Coca is a very big family. So when they
Yeah.
ask me, so which of the Coca?
Coca,
I
yeah.
said that Coca when you know.
Nah, you did.
Nah.
Because I know a couple of Cocas whose that is their real name, that's
of
their
course.
surname, their family name.
A lot of people think Coca is my surname actually. Because you get to see Mide Coca.
Yeah.
So you think Coca is my surname. No, Coca is not my surname. Coca is my adopted name.
That's beautiful. Yeah. It has been so amazing being with my guest here, Mide Coca. We've had such an amazing time. AKA Kokala. Thank you so much for honoring us today. Like you all know, I am Ethel D Voice, and this is Life and Vibes of a Christian. Today, we delved into a very interesting topic, like you know, comedy. I'm very sure you learned something. Now, to get more updates and ensure that you are, hooked up on what we have going on, please follow us on all our social media handles appearing on your screen. Click on the notification button in the YouTube channel and stay stuck to your television channel so you don't miss out on what we're doing. Until I come your way again, please stay blessed. Bye-bye.